At the start of the anime, a woman is selling things and describing their attributes. She says these juicy wieners have been carefully cured for 72 hours. Tachan is looking at the meal. Tachan's wife, Miki, calls him and says that something serious has happened. She takes him outside of the market. She shows him the Polycure group is beaten by Gokudon. Some children are encouraging the Polycure group by saying that they can do it. Miki asks them to keep their distance and beat the opponent. The announcer announces that if any person helps Polycure, they will get a chance to take a picture with them. Everyone raises their hands to go on the stage for help, and Miku says she wants to go on the stage for help, but she can't. The announcer gets afraid to see Tatsu's devilish look and says she has to call him out. He goes on the stage and asks who started this fight first. Gokuden says it's hard to tell who started the fight first. Polycure tells him that Gokuden builds up the evil in people's hearts and takes in all their negative energy. He says that in this world, they're either getting beaten or beaten. Conflict breeds more conflict. He says violence would not protect the things, and then he shows his deepest gratitude to all of them. Then he made friends with both the Polycure group and the Gokuden group. They drink tea, and Tatsu asks them to pray for the future prosperity of their houses. Everyone is happy, and the announcer says it is the time of the meet and greet event. Tachan and another boy, Masa, are standing in the kitchen, looking at the microwave oven and thinking it has a steam function. Tachan says this is going to expand the possibilities of his cooking. Masa asks what he will use it for. Tachan takes it out and tells him that this is bread flour and dry yeast. Then he tells us what he will do with this. His friend throws it down, is very upset about his deed, and apologizes for it. Then he says he knows what to do and has a good method. Then he brings out a rice cooker and tries to make bread. They successfully make bread that is very soft, nice, and fluffy. He draws eyes and nose on the bread, making it character-themed bread. Then Tachan puts his clothes to dry in the sunshine and smells something there. He opens the door next to his house because he thinks there's a fire, but a man named Bob is having a barbecue there. They both eat barbecue there, and then Bob tells him that he moved there because he loves Japan. He missed having his food back and says he can't barbecue like his dad. Then Tatsu tells him in detail how to make a barbecue. When they are making it, suddenly the police come there and ask what they are doing. Tatsu asks Bob to carry on his work. He will handle them. Bob says he can't eat it. Miku shows Tatsu a ticket to Bremen Farm, and she asks him to go there to have some fun. She says someone at work gave her this. Tatsu says she still thinks of having fun at this age. He also says that roads will be crowded at the weekend there. They reach there, and people are having a great time with each other, and they take many photos there. They play with many pet animals, and after this, they sit in the place to eat. Miku says she is starving, and Tatsu tells her that food is very expensive there, so he takes a lot of snacks with him. Then he tells her that he always lived underground and didn't get a chance as a kid to come out of the house and visit parks like this. He thanks Miku, saying that this is a memorable day for him. Then Miku says they will do more activities, but the rain starts falling there, and they wait for it to stop, but it does not. They come back home, and he dries the wet clothes. They go to sleep at night. They go to the beach, play some games, and sit down a few times. They are thinking about taking some pictures, but a ball hits Tatsu's face, and the guys come there saying sorry because they are just playing volleyball on the beach. They play with those guys, and Tatsu saves his wife and says he's the man, and he knows how he has to save his wife. She also saves him while playing, and the guys say she carried him like a princess. Tatsu says that's the power of a couple. Third-year students are saying that a new teacher is coming to teach them. During their talk, Tatsu enters the class and asks for permission to introduce himself to them. He says he will put his life on the line to teach them right. He says he studied a lot in this trade. He will study home economics and how they will work together. Then he shows them some work. He says he will give them dirty work to do. They have to draw a picture and put it on an apron. One of the students comes up to him and asks if he's scared. Everyone starts their work and Tatsu is looking at them. He says it looks like everyone is all set, and then he asks them to start cooking. Tora is sitting and thinks that crepes are not bringing in the dough these days. He says it's time to change the menu. Then she reminds him that it's tapioca tea. He comes to Tatao and says he's the only one who knows about the stuff around there. He asks Tatsu to tell him about tapioca. Then Tatsu says it has a springy texture, is soft and chewy, works great in a drink, and gets likes on Instagram. Then he asks him to come with him. He goes to a person and says to give them ingredients for tapioca. He told them about the building to get ingredients, and they reached the wholesale shop and bought all the ingredients. Tatsu tells him all the methods, then says he is just standing free to get the water boiling. Tora says he's already doing this. He asks Tatsu to get the brown sugar ready, and they add some milk. Tora says he knows the method because he is not a fool. They are happy because the tapioca is ready. They drink it, and Tora says that the tapioca ganged up on him and he took a full load in his throat. Then Tatsu calls everyone, and the girls say it looks like they have tapioca milk. She demands tapioca from them. Then some guys come there and say they want 6 tapioca milks. Tatsu tells Masa that they are going to the most powerful organization in the country. It has a total of 20,000 members from all branches included. They will do any type of hustle. Nothing is off limits. Then they see a place whose name is Diazo. They see a thing, and Tatsu tells them how to use it in the house. He told him that a lot of these things are useful for housework. Masa says sorry to him because he doesn't know more about the things. They buy some apple cutters, an insect catcher, and a few other things. He's working late at night, and Miku wakes up and asks if he is still awake. 2 women are talking in the market, saying that the person can't come to whom they call, and that the manager is calling them so that they can explain why he's here. Tatsu says to the children that it is time for a picture story. The children are happy, and he says he will tell them the story of Momotaro. A video girl says she knows the story of Momotaro. Once upon a time, the boss and boss lady lived in a village and did their work. One day, boss lady came back with a pale face and peachy goods on his back. The boss asks the reason, and she says it's good not to ask. The boss splits the good in half with 1 strike. A baby boy was crying inside it, and he grew up quickly into a young man. They named him Momotaro. Then Momotaro leaves for Demon Island and comes across a dog. He goes on a boat with his 3 sworn brothers, and they shout at Momotaro. A girl standing there interrupts Tatsu's story and tells the children that in the end, the demon apologizes and Momotaro forgives the demon. Then they start living happily. Tatsu asks them to wait a minute. They are getting into the never-ending conflict part. Tatsu is sitting with the children and asks what his next assignment is for the summer holidays. He says he did the books, and Tatsu says he did well. The child says math and Japanese are almost done, and only independent research is left behind. Tatsu says he left the baddest mother behind. The child says he can make an experiment, an investigation. Then he starts an investigation into the room and designs it. The boy is very happy, and the room is looking pretty good. He describes the things he made, their usage, and their benefits. Like the pegboard, it provides convenience and style. The child is happy and says that it's great, but it's an elementary school project. Then the girl talks about colorful soap, and the child says that's the kind of soap he's talking about. He knew it and started making it with caustic soda and waste oil. He makes it, and the boy says it doesn't look colorful, and Tatsu says it takes 3 days to complete. A teacher is reading something on paper about dodgy liquid, saying that they can use it on anything, and it will change to white. Tatsu is sitting in a restaurant with some woman, and they say to him that cooking for the family is a tough job. Tatsu says yes. It was when he was a resident lackey, which means when he had to dish up 100 servings of sashimi to guests. Then he says that once a time, he had 20 dogs at the same time. The woman says it's easy for husbands and children, but they have to clean the house. Tatsu says he also cleans the house. He's talking, and his wife calls him. He attends the call, and she says that she's free from her work and asks for dinner. Tatsu says he will make them for her, and the women are amazed and wonder what's going on with this couple. He says he has to go, and the tea time is very good. They spend time with each other, and they say if he has any trouble, he can come to them. A cat is telling his story to another cat and teaching him how to react when an attack comes to them. He says surprise attacks are not allowed, because a fight is a contest of strength, done by hook. Tatsu is purchasing household items, and a person comes there and asks if he remembers him. Then he says he is from the Hiroko group, the one to whom he took out. He is the top-ranked former Yakuza, a dope rapper. Then he starts singing a rape song. His name is G. Goda. He's a house husband, and his apron is good battle gear. He tells the people around him to make some noise while they are looking at them. Then he apologizes to him and goes to a meat shop, where the shopkeeper asks the reason for the noise. Tatsu started singing his rape, and the shopkeeper slapped him in the face. Then the rapper goes there, says it's his turn, and sings his rape. The songwriter takes the mice from him and gives them a rake, saying if they want meat, they shall come to the ultimate meat. Miku says to Tatsu that she's going on her business trip and probably will be back tomorrow night. Tatsu reminds her of all the things, and she says yes, she has all the necessary things. He started doing his housework after her departure. Then he thinks he has to take it easy for the day. Then he says the weather looks good, and he washes the clothes and does all other housework. He makes some noodles for his lunch, and then Masa comes and tells him he is fired from his part-time job, so he has come there. Then they play games, watch TV, and go outside. Then he says he has to go because he has to clean the bathroom and go grocery shopping. When he's sleeping, he looks at Masa and says his laziness is on another level. Then he stands up and says he has to do his work and then clean the bath. But Masa holds him and says that he promised that he would take it easy. Miku shows a shopping district Halloween costume contest to Tachan and asks him to enter together. She tells him about 2 parts of it, and then they go there. Masa is shocked to see Tora there. He asks what he's doing there, and she says, "What's about him?" Hibarituri is also there. Tatsu and Tora talk with each other loudly, and Hibari asks them to keep quiet. They have an eye on the rice, and Hibari says they cannot take it, while Miku is thinking about something there. Then the announcer announced that it was the shopping contest, and they were looking forward to that Halloween downfall look. She says they can walk alone or with a group. She says entry number 1 is the Tori family, and entry number 2 is Creole maker Mr. Tora, who is injured. She asks if he's okay. Then she calls all the other entry numbers, and Tatsu and his wife are also one of them. After the match ends, the announcer announces that entry number 9 is the winner. Tatsu is walking and sees some people there and says virus, looking at them. When he comes back home, he makes a drink for himself made with lemon and ginger to get some heat. He remembers his talk with the person. He says they knew who they were missing, and then he uses Miku's facial steamer for some heat, and then he takes some rest. He remembers talking with them and fighting. He wakes up and checks his fever, which gets high. He tries to walk, but he falls. Miku comes there and puts cold strips on his head to lower the temperature. Miku is thankful that he woke up. She tells her that when she arrived, he was falling there. Tatsu says he has to make dinner, but she tells him to take a rest. He makes a special drink for him by whizzing up all the veggies in the fridge. He drinks this, wakes up, and tells Miku that he's better now. Masa is walking on the road and says, "Happy New Year to everyone," then says he has to go and get his money from his boss Tatsu. He rings the bell, and Tatao opens the door. He sees the apron that he got from the New Year sale. Masa feels jealous of him. Then he comes to Miku and Tatsu, who are doing their first calligraphy of the year. Then he says he wants something for which he has no money. Then Tatsu tells him to write his hopes on the paper, but he says he can't because he is very hungry. They go out and make some food, and Bob is also with them. Then Masa eats food and likes it very much, and after this they play badminton there. They are talking with each other, and Masa says that he's very poor but can't do it. Then he shows a picture to Tatsu and says they are all very rich. Then Ryota comes there, says hello to Tatsu, and wishes him a happy new year. Then he tells him about the fair. Tatsu gives him a gift, and Masa falls there and says, "What about him?" He asks him about his New Year's money. In the new year, they go to a place and search for something written on the paper. Miku says there are a couple of places. They find the first place and enter inside, where Hibari and Tora are also sitting there drinking tea. They ask for chairs and tables to sit at, and they drink very pure wine, some with regionally sourced rice. The waitress asks if they would like to try anything else. Miku drinks a lot standing there, and Mesa says that's too much. She is still drinking. Mesa becomes nervous to see both of them because Tatsu is also not responding to him. Tora is looking at them sitting there. Tatsu gives Miku another drink and says to drink some water, which is wine. Masa looks at him and says, "This is very bad. The boss is also drunk. He doesn't want to deal with all this." Then Tora starts weeping because his chopstick fell, and Masa asks for another chopstick. Miku starts laughing at him there, and Masa is very nervous to see all of them there, and asks if they are okay. Masa goes to the bathroom to vomit. The next morning, Tatsu and Miku drink soup. In the school, Tatsu teaches students how to make chocolate cake. He's making a cake with his friend, but they are disturbing each other. They start fighting with each other. Tatsu asks the guy who reaches here if he wants to make a chocolate cake. Then they both start baking their cakes. When their cake is completed, Hirono's cake is not so good, but Tatao's cake looks very good. Hirono takes this cake to the boss and asks him to accept it from him. Yuriko is talking with Miku and says that they don't have anything. She and her husband spend everything. Miku introduces her to Tatsu and says he can help her. Tatsu tells her that he manages all the work at home. It's a joke to know that he is Miku's husband. Then he tells her all the household work and she gets tired after knowing it. He takes her outside to buy groceries and other things, and then he teaches her how to do household chores. He also tells her to make a budget to control things. She checks her husband's card and says he wastes a lot of it. Then her husband comes back home and tells her that they have guests at home. He says that money ends because it was wasted on their anniversary. He makes a bracelet for her, and she is very happy. She says she suspects that he does not have any money. Yuzuro says it's his fault because he keeps quiet, and then he tells her about the reservation at the hotel. Miku is walking on the road and says she is late today. She says her name is Miku. She is 26 years old and an office worker. She will do her best today, but she has a dog there. The dog tells her to help him because the earth is in peril. She says something came down from the sky. He says the mafia came down from the sky and the head of Ninkyo died. At this time, the world will be in Mafia's clutches. He asks her to help him. The Mafia's head comes there with some other people. She says there is no use in escaping, and then she wears her magical dress. Then she talks with the person, but actually she was doing all this in her dream. Miku shows Tatsu an ad for a DVD they can buy from any toy shop. After giving them the secret code, Miku says she will be at work and can't go there, but he can go and catch up. He says he doesn't think so he can't. But she says he has to go. He goes there, and on the way, he repeats Miku's words, and the people are looking at him. A seller tells him to buy some cabbage for only 100 yen. Then he says to give him a cabbage. He sees many people on the way, but he doesn't listen to or reply to them. They call him, but he doesn't reply. Finally, he reached the shop and talked with the receptionist, who was afraid of him. He forgets the secret code there and thinks, but a person comes there and says the code, which is, "You can't get away now, someone is coming to catch you," and he remembers the code. Later, he thanked the man for the help, and the man told him about the other shop. He says if they say that code in the shop, they will get a super rare polychure card. Tatsu seems happy, and then he thinks about his wife and says that she will be very happy to see this. Tatsu asks the person if he wants to join him, and he says, of course. They reach the shop and ask, but the receptionist says sorry because the items were sold out. A child walks from there and says that these two people look crazy, and the other person with Tatsu faints there. Tatsu tells his wife about his friend, who gives him a dog named Kotetsu. He wants to take care of him for a short while, and his wife says that it's so cute. Tatsu takes him outside of the home, and Kotetao wants to go ahead. Tatsu warns him because there are many cars on the road. Some people also come with their pet dog. Tatsu sends Kotetsu's picture to his boss, who replies to him very quickly. Tatsu says that this dog gets their attention because it is a big dog but friendly. Kinumi comes there, and they sit in the car. Tatsu asks where he is taking them, and the person tells him he will take them somewhere to have some fun. They go to a park where many dogs are also playing. The Kotetsu enjoys a lot there, and then the person tells him about his work. He says he'd like more young people and women to visit, and he thinks he has a good idea about it. Tatsu says he doesn't have any ideas, but he knows about the place where there is a mean hustle going on. They go to the restaurant where a waiter writes their order, and they eat the food they ordered. When they went back, the waiter thanked them. They come back home, and Tatsu gives him a chicken sandwich to eat. The lemon and honey add an extra touch of freshness. The person is eating the sandwich, and he remembers a past 12th grade winner in a city town. A girlfriend was going off to college far away when he sneezed. Tatsu asks what happened, then gives him hot and creamy chai. Then he again tells her he was in India on a tour to find himself. He goes to the Ganges River and then tells the next story. He said to Tatsu that he was going for a smoke, and also thanked him for the great dishes. When he goes, Tatsu remembers his past, sitting there. Masa comes in to complain about a toothache. Tatsu asks him if he has a cavity. Masa thinks if he tells him, then he will take him to the dentist. He doesn't want to go, and Tatsu teaches him how to brush his teeth. He says to Masa that he has to go to the dentist. Then Masa tells him the reason for not going to the dentist. When he was a child, his mother says she took him to buy some sweets, but she took him to the dentist. Then Tatsu drags him to the dentist and wishes him the best of luck. Masa is going with the nurse, and Tatsu says he will soon join him. Tatsu is sitting with his wife, and she tells him a story. Then at night, Miku sleeps, and Tatsu also tries to sleep but he can't. He is reading the story on his mobile device. He says there are 8 members of Yakuza's group. He wakes up and says he has no choice. He takes out some milk and drinks to get some rest, but this is not enough. Then he prepares his whole meal and eats it. After this, he washes the dishes, lies down to sleep, and feels sleepy. But Gin wakes him up. Tatsu's cat, Gin, looks at a black crow who is sitting on top. She says that he feels jealous of him. She also says flying in the air feels good and nice. The crow says he guesses that it can get pretty tiring, though the black crow can be scary. Then Gin says he can grab him with his claws and try flying. The crow says there is no way his claws can hurt him, but Gin says only for a short time, and then the crow comes down and says it will be due to her. He sits on the back of Gin, and his claws hurt Gin a lot. Gin tells him to try and grab hold of the scruff on her neck more. Then he again sits on her back and she says that's hurting. The crow says it's his fault and the anime ends here.